Best moment when someone realized they had no control? I was raised in a home with a mother who had dissociative identity issues along with strong narcissistic tendencies, and she had been hooked on painkillers for as long as I can remember, doing absolutely anything to get her hands on them, and I really do mean anything. Nothing was off the table. When I was a kid, it was normal for her to lose control in the middle of one of her drug binges, and she would lash out violently, hitting me, tearing me down over everything I was insecure about, and going out of her way to ruin any connection I had with my dad or my siblings. She could stay awake for days without sleep, then collapse in weird positions like standing up with her eyes glazed over and her back bent, and once the drugs kicked in again, she would shoot up, start moving, and go on a rampage destroying everything in the house. I remember walking out of a clean house in the morning and coming back to a disaster like a hurricane had ripped through it, broken glass all over, dog mess, piles of dirty laundry, roaches crawling around, empty prescription bottles, crushed pill dust everywhere. It was a wreck, and on the worst nights, she would hallucinate and I would find blood on the floor from where she had run through broken glass during one of her episodes. Sometimes I would go 2 or 3 days without sleep because my mom and dad would scream at each other nonstop, yelling for hours, dragging me into it, trying to make me choose sides, even waking me up at 4 in the morning to scream in front of me like it was some kind of twisted show. She left me in strange places more than once while meeting up with the guy she was seeing behind my father's back, even though she still lived with him at the time, and she never once said sorry for any of it, not even when she was in a rare moment of clarity. If anything, she just blamed everything and everyone else. In her head, she was never at fault. We were always broke because she could not hold a job in her condition. She sold some of the medication she had, but used that money to buy more drugs anyway, which meant we went without power, water, or even food for years at a time. I got used to going to bed hungry, with only the school lunch in my stomach, and on the weekends there were days I did not eat at all, and none of the rest of our family knew how bad it really was. The summer I turned 16, my aunt, who I had barely heard from since I was younger, reached out and asked if I wanted to visit her in Texas for a few weeks. I jumped at the chance and did not even bother telling my parents. I doubted they would even realize I was gone, so they had no idea. My aunt drove all the way up to Iowa and spent the afternoon at our house. My parents barely noticed. They stayed in their room the whole time like she was invisible. The place was clean at first, but when we got back from grabbing food it had already turned into a disaster, like always. And while we were driving down to Texas, my aunt told me what scared her most was not the mess but the way I acted like nothing was wrong, just stepping over the trash and broken stuff and packing my things like I had done it 1,000 times before, and that stuck with her. It bothered her that I did not react. She asked if I was actually safe living there and I told her I was, because I had never known anything different. She told me she was scared for me and said she wanted me to move in with her. I thought she was just being nice, so I did not take it seriously. But a few days after settling into her home, I realized she was right, and that I had to get out. Her and her husband showed me more kindness in 1 week than I had felt in my whole life, and I was overwhelmed by it. So we made the decision together. I was going to file to be legally separated from my parents and stay in Texas. That meant I had to sit across from them in a courtroom with their lawyer beside them. The judge asked why I wanted to leave and I told him everything. I described the love and safety I had experienced for the first time, and I said I wanted to finally live without fear. Their lawyer came back at me and said it sounded like I just did not respect my parents, and that maybe I just liked the money and lifestyle in Texas better than what I had back home, trying to twist it like I was being spoiled or selfish. Then my mom and dad started in, yelling and mocking me, trying to wear me down like they always had, but I stayed quiet. I let them run their mouths, and when it was finally my time, I turned to face them and said if they were asking whether I respected my parents, then no, I did not, but it had nothing to do with money. I told them it was because of the way they had treated me for years, and right before I could finish, my mom exploded, yelling from across the table, calling me a liar, saying I was just trying to ruin everything. But the judge slammed his gavel and ordered her to stop, and for once, she looked shocked, like it had never occurred to her that someone could shut her down like that. I looked at her and held back tears and told her flat out that screaming over me would not work anymore, that she had nothing left to hold over me, and she could not stop me now. The judge signaled to one of the officers, and the man walked right over, told her to stand up, and walked her out while she sat there stunned like she had no idea what was happening. Then the judge looked at all of us, me, my aunt, my dad, and the lawyer, and said he was sorry I had to live like that for so long, and that there was nothing else anyone needed to say. It was clear my parents were not capable of providing a safe home, and he ruled that I would go back to Texas with my aunt and that the state would be checking in on me regularly to make sure I was doing all right. He said I had earned a second chance, and that I should take it, and with one final slam of the gavel, it was over. The room went silent, but all I could hear was a loud Ringing in my ears, they escorted my dad and the lawyer out, and all the emotion I had been holding inside came pouring out at once. I cried like I had not cried in years. It has been 7 years since that day, and I am proud to say I have made a real life for myself. I have a job I care about, close friends, and a girlfriend I love. I have been going to therapy ever since I moved, and the nightmares, the anxiety, the heavy sadness that used to follow me around, they are mostly gone now, and for the first time, life actually feels good.